G'day. Today we're not talking specifically about a route that I'm doing, although I'm going down to the Myall Lakes. What I'm going to be talking about today is bike packing. So what is bike packing? What does it mean? How do you do it? Where do you go and do it? And what do you need to go bike packing? That's what this video is about. So for those of you who want to know where I'm going down to Myall Lakes National Park. I'm going to go across the Bomber Point ferry from Bulladila, and then I'm going to turn left and go up to Shelly Beach, which is a remote campsite.
A remote campsite has few amenities, maybe a drop toilet. It is usually only accessible to bikes, hikers and boats, and usually has little or no phone reception.
I bought myself lunch in town, which happens to be a salmon sandwich, a salmon bagel. Looking forward to this. So while I eat my sandwich, my salmon bagel and cream cheese, which is very nice by the way, let's just get back to that definition of what is bike packing. And I saw this written, I think it was on bikepacking.com, which was a multi-day cycling adventure primarily off-road. I like that because it's loose and it's big, and it means we can all do pretty much exactly as we please. As I clear that ferry, I should say, there's something about going on a ferry that makes it feel like you've gone on a proper adventure. Love them. Doesn't matter which direction I'm going on the ferry as well. Just feels good. Love them. So that's straight in front of me is the Boomerang campground where people can drive into and camp. The beauty of where I'm going is I've just come through this gate which is locked, and then we're going to head up what's called the Old Gibber Trail. It's for bikes and walkers only.
If you want to know what sort of bike to use on these sort of trails, basically anything with a bit of a fat tyre to it will work perfectly. A mountain bike, a gravel bike. If you haven't got one of those, a road bike with fat tyres.
I remember the last time I came down through here, I cycled through here when I came from Taree down to Newcastle, and I remember thinking to myself as I was coming through this area that I'd like to come back one day and camp, and lo and behold, 2 years later, here I am, and I'm looking forward to it. Such a lovely area. And this is my turn. Shelly Beach, 2 kilometers. Yahoo! This is it. So there's a toilet block and camp areas. Beautiful. Now that we're in camp, let's talk about safety. There's 3 types of safety that I make sure I'm aware of. I tell people where I'm going, and I'm aware of my environment, and I'm looking around.
I also carry on my iPhone a bunch of apps which I will hopefully show on the screen, which are first aid apps, fires near me, and also bites and stings, so that if I do get hurt by something, I can do something fairly quickly and they don't need phone signal to work. The other thing I carry with me is a first aid kit, and I know how to use it. It's hopefully never going to get opened and used, but one day when you have to do it, you'll be glad that you've got it with you. So in this first aid kit, I carry all the usual band-aids and creams and stuff like that. I'm in the Myall Lakes area, so I'm also carrying Aerogard to keep away the mosquitoes. I've got some Panadol, some ibuprofen, and in particular I've also got a list of phone numbers of the local fire brigade, the local police, friends and family that I can contact, and I've got a little bit of cash with me. Cash because if everything goes down, if the ATMs go down and you need to get help and you need to get it urgently, you'll be glad you've got a little bit of cash. So what's the bike I'm riding? It's a Canyon Grand Canyon 9. So fairly new, aluminium, hardtail, short travel front forks, mostly XT gearing, SLX brakes. Yeah, it's quite a nice reliable bike, 29-inch wheels, wicked wheel tyres, as in Schwalbe's. Can't remember, 2.6s, pretty wide. So I run them fairly soft, and the front suspension very soft. Let's talk about distance expectations. If you're a current road cyclist, you're probably able to do some pretty impressive distances on a bike. If you're moving from that to bike packing, you need to be aware that you're going to move from a road bike to a gravel or a mountain bike, which is slower. You're going to be on rougher trails, and it's going to be loaded. So your distance expectations are going to have to come down a long way. I would say 20 miles to 30 kilometers should be your first couple of trips at the most. These days for me, I can do 50-60 kilometers quite easily, and at a push I can do 80-90 off-road, but the following day I'll be pretty tired. But we should also say it's not really the distance that matters, it's the places you get to, the places you go to, the wild, the off-road, the remote. That's what you're after. It's not some impressive distance. Let's also deal with the elephant in the room. I'm now 60. I'm nowhere close to the fitness I was when I was 20. So therefore my expectations of distance and recovery have to be very different from how I was when I was 20. But your fitness can still improve, your fitness can increase. Over the last 2 or 3 years, my fitness has gone up dramatically compared to where I was a few years ago. So it can improve, but the recovery times, they are much, much longer for me these days. If you're going to do anything like bike packing, you must speak to your GP first. He will probably, or she will probably want to do a heart function test. They're going to want to make sure that it's safe for you. Go and talk to them. I would see my GP 4 times a year just about my fitness, just to make sure that things are safe. Yes, it costs a few bucks. It'll cost a hell of a lot more if things went wrong when I'm out here. I want to briefly mention hydration. I work on about drinking 600 mils of water per hour while I'm cycling, and then a litre or two in the evenings. Probably a litre to rehydrate my food and another litre to drink. I will then spend about 45 minutes in the evenings before I go to bed stretching. Otherwise, I will get the dreaded cramps in the middle of the night.
Well, good morning. I slept really well. For an old guy with a dodgy hip, I slept really nicely last night. That was fantastic. So a bit more boiling water this morning for a coffee and some breakfast, which is like a porridge mix. I'll show you in a second. Overnight, I didn't hear any creatures at all, but it looks like one of them has nicked my coffee cup. It's about the only thing I left out. I put all my rubbish away in my bags. I put everything away. I cleaned up everything. But I left the coffee cup out because it'd be nice and easy to get to in the morning. Well, yeah, something's taken it. So my coffee is in my pot today. Still tastes the same. I've never had one of these, but this is what I'm having for breakfast. It's a mixed berry nutrition with a bunch of protein. So as long as it tastes reasonable, it's got lots of calories, lots of protein, which should be ideal for me for breakfast when I'm about to go cycling 30 Ks. This berry nutrition, it's pretty good. I purposely didn't choose chocolate or any flavours that I know and just got something vague berry, so that I'm not really comparing against something I already know. And yeah, for breakfast it's really quite nice. It's basically like a very nutty berry porridge. It's good. Recommend it.
And we're off for the day. I've got to tell you, I'm not generally someone who likes camping particularly. I'm old, bits of me hurt. Getting up and down. I'd just much rather go into a motel or a hotel, but that camp would be by far and away the best night's camp I've ever had. It was a beautiful place. It was comfortable. I slept well. It was great. So I thought as I got a little bit of time this morning, I should actually explain what I've got on my bike. Now, there is no perfect setup. It's going to be different for every time I go away. It's going to be different for you compared to me, but this is what I've got. Okay, I think I've mentioned before, this is a new bike to me. This is the Canyon Grand Canyon 9. 9 being the top of their range. It's got relatively short travel forks, 32 foxes. It's got XT gearing. It's an aluminium hardtail frame. On that, I have then put Shelly Beach bars. I've put Shelly Beach bars because I like the angle that they come back at. It stops my wrist from hurting on a long day. And on the end of them, I've got Ergon GP2 grips. So it just gives me a lot of different options to hold on to. Up front, I've got a tent. That's the Nature Hike Cloud Up 2. It's about 4 years old. Great little thing. I've got 2 feed bags that I put my drinks in at the moment for this trip. And I've got a top tube bag, which has got basically everything that's left over, like my glasses. It's got a battery pack, it's got some sweets, things like that. The rest of my kit basically breaks into 3 separate parts. In the frame bag, that's I think a Blackburn frame bag, is my cooking stuff. So there's a gas canister, my pot, the burner, spoon. It had a cup in it until something stole it last night. It's got some coffee and some sugar. Then on the back, I'm using the Tula pack and pedal system. So these things fit onto the down tube. They do not need to screw in. So they'll fit on full squish bikes as well as hardtail bikes. And then the Tula pack and pedal bags. I got these secondhand off some bloke on the other side of the country. Really fantastic bit of kit. So in one side, I've got all of my in-tent stuff. So my mat, pillow, can't really think, there's a little LED light that I've got, various bits and pieces like that. And in the other one, I've got my camp stuff, so my camp clothes, so pair of shoes, trousers, shirt, the stuff you saw me in last night. I've also got a Trekology chair. Generally I wouldn't travel with one, but I was pretty sure this place wouldn't have any seating. And yeah, look, at the end of the day, you've got a long evening. I don't particularly want to spend a long evening sitting on the ground. A couple of minor extra bits. This is all my tools for the bike, and then I've got a backpack on, and in my backpack I came out with water. There's no water in there now, but I've got the 2 bottles there, so I'm absolutely fine for the day. And I've got a first aid kit in the bottom of that, spare tube, yeah, various bits and pieces. It's basically, again, all the other crap that's left over when you go camping. The other bit to mention here, that's a Brooks C17, so it's their galvanized rubber saddle. Pretty much overall, everything I've got, I'm trying to be relatively light. I'm not going massively lightweight. Remember, there's a lot of me on that bike, but I don't particularly want to schlep around big heavy stuff, and in particular what I'm trying to go for is waterproof stuff, so that if there is a drama, if it is raining, then yeah, I'm going to be pretty okay no matter what.
If you're like me, you'll probably carry far too much stuff initially. You need to find out what you can do without. You can do without carrying food if you're near the shops. You can do without a tent if you're near a hotel. You can do without water if you're near a tap.
Now I'm back on the Myall Road, heading back up to the ferry.
For me, less is more. The less I have to carry, the more I'm going to enjoy the trip.
One of the things I've learned to do over the last 12 months is to enjoy these rest moments, to take it all in, to rather than just hurrying to get from one spot to another, is just to take a moment to breathe. And you know, if you've got to sit and wait for a ferry, they come every 30 minutes. Enjoy the serenity, enjoy the peace and quiet. Well, it looks like this guy's having to bring the ferry across for me and me alone. Yeah, this would be a blast. Hey, I don't know what you're doing this Sunday morning, but for me, I've got my own private ferry crossing. So I'm now back on Bomber Point, so back on the road that goes up to Bulladila where I started from. There's about 15 kilometers to do up that way, but it's such a serene, peaceful little area that down here. And all of a sudden, I'm back in civilization, if you can call it civilized. That's the main freeway between Sydney and Brisbane. And so I'm back into Bulladila. I've finished my weekend away. Thanks for watching. I hope you like this sort of thing. If you do, please consider subscribing and hit the like button. Thank you.